On my way to prison, to that facility, I was beaten in a jeep, in the back of a jeep, by 3 Israeli soldiers, almost to death. And in that facility, I was forced to stay awake for several days and nights without sleep. They shake me till I passed out, and the food was very bad. The music was very loud. I didn't see the sun for almost 3 months continuously.
That's a terrible thing to have happened to anybody, whatever the reasons. How did you feel about what had been done to you by the Israelis?
Before that happened, this is what I was expecting from my enemies. Simply, I've seen Israeli soldiers shooting at my people, at myself, and I was witnessing lots of violence and lots of bloodshed. I was living next to a cemetery, and I wasn't expecting something nicer from the Israelis, and this provoked hate in my heart, and I wanted to take revenge from the Israeli Shin Bet.
And yet, despite all that suffering to yourself and to your people, as you've just said, you decided, Mosab Hassan Yousef, to basically switch sides and start spying for the Israelis. What made you do that?
Yeah. First of all, when I decided to work for the Israelis after they put an offer on the table, nothing would convince me to work for my enemies against my people at that time. I decided to work for the Israeli Shin Bet, to fool them, to infiltrate the Shin Bet, and work for the agendas of Hamas. But after that, when I was transferred to prison, I was witnessing Hamas torturing its own people this time, and other Palestinian factions persecuting each other. So I start wondering, who is really my enemy? What's the difference between Hamas torture and Israeli torture? Torture is torture. Torturing a human being is torturing a human being. It doesn't matter. It's not. There's no difference if Israel making the torture or persecution or Hamas doing it.
So you decided to turn against those people who you saw torturing other people, and yet you decided to serve the agenda of those very people who had tortured and beaten you. I mean, that sounds quite amazing to most people, doesn't it?
It's a long story of transformation. This didn't happen over one night. We're talking about 6 years of experience. I hated the Israelis. Then I hated the Hamas people who tortured their own people. And I was full of hate. But during this experience, especially when I met with the Shin Bet later on, I figured out that all those people were tortured in prison on the hands of Hamas. They were innocent people, tortured for the accusation of having a relationship with the Israeli Shin Bet, and they didn't have.
But Mosab Hassan Yousef, you're not an ordinary...
facts.
Okay, but you're not an ordinary Palestinian, are you? You come from one of the most distinguished families in Ramallah on the West Bank. You're son of the highly respected Sheikh Hassan Yousef, one of the 7 founders of Hamas. You are the eldest of 8 children. You were seen as the son and heir, groomed to carry on this great family tradition of great Islamic learning. You are not an ordinary Palestinian.
Yes, I am not, and this is a big lesson for everybody to learn from this experience. There is something going on different than what people see on the news. There is lots of corruption, and there is lots of corruption on both sides. I'm not saying that I worked for the Israeli agendas. We worked together. I was in a situation that I didn't want anybody to die anymore. I wasn't working for Israel at that moment. I was working for my principles to stop the killing, to stop the madness.